So today's video is quite honestly one of the most important videos I've done as it pertains to real estate investing. I wanted to make a special video just about this topic because it's that important. You see, regardless if you've invested in real estate or not, you're gonna wanna know about this tool that real estate investors have been using for decades to defer paying capital gains tax on real estate when they sell it. This strategy alone is one of the main reasons that people invest in real estate to begin with, and is the main factor why so many people are able to build wealth through real estate investing. And now Biden wants to destroy it.
No, I get it, but when would you make these changes is my point, because the economy is in a bad state right now. You wouldn't, I mean, would you wait for unemployment to go under 2%?
No. I'd make the changes on the corporate taxes on day one. And the reason I'd make the change in corporate taxes, it can raise $1.3 trillion if they just start paying at 28% instead of 21%. Guess what? If you elect me, you're not going to have your taxes are going to be raised, not cut.
What's up, guys? It's Mike here, and in this video, I'll share what the 1031 exchange is, what the proposed changes are and why they matter, and what all this means for you. So if you stick around to the end of the video, I'll share with you a special little secret from Carlton Sheets. You remember him, right? The no money down real estate guy from the 1980s?
Hi, I'm Carlton Sheets.
So what is the 1031 exchange? The original 1031 exchange was legislated into law by the Revenue Act of 1921. The code remained without much change from 1928 through 1984. Prior to 1979, 1031 exchanges happened in the same day, meaning the property that was sold and the new property that was acquired, closings happened simultaneously within the same day. But what is now known as a forward exchange allows for the relinquished or sold property to be sold, and then the new property is closed on within a given time frame in the future. In 1984, they came up with the 180-day rule for a 1031 exchange. What this basically means is that you have to identify your next property that you're going to purchase within 45 days of closing on the sold property, and then you have 180 days to close on that property. In 1991, a few other rules were also created, of the most prevalent being the use of a qualified intermediary. What that is that when you do a 1031 exchange, a third-party person that has no relation to you, no business contacts with you, they are the qualified intermediary that handles your funds so that way you don't touch them and create a taxable event in the midst of your 1031 exchange. On April 28th, the Biden administration proposed new legislation to take aim at real estate investors who are avoiding paying capital gains tax by trading up in real estate investment properties. Under this new economic plan, he calls to abolish the rights to defer tax payments on capital gains over $500,000. This is going to create a chain reaction of a lot of different things in our economy and the real estate market. They claim the reasoning for this is for broader economic prosperity, to raise taxes on the rich, to pay for an expansion of services including free preschool to less wealthy Americans. From a legal standpoint, we're going to have to wait and see what these changes cause in the actual market. But the suggested changes do propose some troubling issues and options. For example, with a threshold of only $500,000, that is going to make real estate investors scrutinize and try to add in every expense that they possibly can to reduce those capital gains when they sell that property. What this is going to inevitably create is an accounting nightmare. You're going to have people that are trying to write off all kinds of expenses, things that they normally can't write off, and try to rename them and sneak them in on their balance sheet to reduce their capital gains overall. So it's just going to create more headaches for everybody. Another possible option that will come up for real estate investors is that they will start to use tenancy in common, series LLCs, and condominiums as workarounds. Now, what do I mean by this? Investors are going to want to carve their real estate portfolios into smaller pieces, so that way when they do have a real estate play, meaning a buy or a sell, that everything is separated into smaller groups, right? Or individual assets for each LLC. So that way, if they sell a condo, they're going to be below that $500,000 capital gains mark unless they're selling it in Manhattan. But if they're selling a condo in anywhere else in the United States, they'll typically be below that $500K mark, and they won't have to pay the capital gains on that. And they can roll that investment just like a regular 1031 would be done into the next investment. The downside to this is this will further complicate real estate transactions, and it will make syndicating funds very difficult for other investors. Investors may shift to other options with less deal velocity. For example, They may decide to invest in qualified opportunity zone funds, which is a different animal, but there may be more protection by putting your money into that than to trading up into a regular real estate, where you know you're going to have to pay those capital gain tax eventually. Investors could be driven to Section 721 exchanges instead, which is basically when you sell your piece of real estate and you have the capital gains tax that you're faced, you then put that money into a REIT or a real estate investment trust and disperse it amongst several assets to, again, then defer and avoid paying that capital gains tax. These are not as efficient as 1031 exchanges, but they do provide an alternate option for real estate investors who are trying to defer their capital gains. Also, this other effect that could possibly happen, and I know this is crazy because I just made a video about our real estate market shortage, but coming towards the fourth quarter of the year, we could see a huge surge in properties coming onto market to be sold as investors try to rush and sell off their real estate that they don't want and reap those capital gains deferments into a new piece of real estate that they're going to plan to hold on for a long period of time because of whenever these new acts or legislation is going to take effect. If the new legislation takes effect January 1, 2022, you're going to see a surge of properties that are going to come onto the market in the fourth quarter, and that's going to, again, disrupt the supply and demand that we've been seeing, and that could actually bring some properties prices down because there's going to be a flooding of new properties that will level out the supply-demand ratio, and then all of a sudden, once those properties are gone, we're going to go back to a super thin market where there's still a ton of buyers wanting stuff, but there's no inventory again. That could possibly happen in 2021. We'll wait and see. The year's still young, so stay tuned for that one. So what does all this mean for you guys? Depending on where you measure up on the financial pecking order, the repeal of the 1031 could affect you in many different ways. Based on a recent study, and I'll put the link in the description below, there are 6 long-term impacts that a repeal on the 1031 exchange could have on our economy. Number 1, real estate values will drop. This is because investors are going to have to shift due to the repeal and changes instead from an equity mindset to a debt mindset. This will cause real estate prices to drop overall. The second change is that the cost of capital to invest in real estate would most likely increase. This is due to less demand of investors needing to borrow capital to do deals because they don't want to face a taxable event on the back end. Number 3, the average holding period of an investor's piece of real estate would surely increase. I don't know how long, but people that were trading in and out of real estate every year or so and doing capital gains 1031 exchange, they're not going to be doing that like that. They have to adjust their strategy. So they're probably going to switch to a more long-term buy and hold strategy, which means less properties available for people to buy, which will create a fourth issue. The velocity of investment in real estate in our economy will definitely decrease. Other people are going to not want to get into the game, so they're going to end up putting their money in other things like stock market or maybe a business or something like that. They're going to raise the rents and bring them up because there's going to be less buying and selling and velocity of properties, as I mentioned. So the ones that are available, the rents are going to come up because there's not going to be as much supply available. And the last one, number 6, the economy will contract. What I mean by this is that in a process of a real estate transaction, you have a lot of different people and professionals that are involved in a real estate transaction, from title people to closing attorneys to appraisers to inspectors to real estate agents to loan officers to contractors and everyone in between. Those people are all going to be doing less deals per year, which means they'll have less discretionary money to go spend in the economy. So the economy overall is a derivative effect from the real estate market and what it's doing. If it constricts, the economy will constrict as well. So let's talk about the real estate market itself. Repeal of the 1031 will have a negative impact on the real estate market. As I mentioned, in the economy, as well as the real estate market, there will be a decrease on prices. There'll be a long-term increase in rents. There'll be a decrease in real estate investments overall. There'll be an increase in investment holding periods, and there'll be a greater reliance on the use of debt versus equity. The elimination of tax-deferred exchanges in the commercial real estate sector will have the following disadvantages. There'll be reduced market values, especially in high taxable states. States like California, New York, other states, New Jersey, that have extremely high taxes, you'll see a decrease in the amount of exchanges being done and thus the amount of properties being purchased. This will cause disruptions in the local real estate markets, including reduced levels of construction and financial loss.